want to start the rundown by going to the double Olympic champion from Rio and Tokyo in the women's 100 and 200 meters, Elaine Thompson-Herah. She's back on the track. And after almost 2 years away, we saw her yesterday competing in the 60 meters, coming third into a minus wind, into a headwind rather. 7.24 for third place, 1.7 headwind. And I want to break down the performance in a couple of ways. And quickly, if you just look at the clock, 7.24 isn't going to set the world alight in terms of the track and field world, even when you try to adjust that for uh, narrowing it down to, I guess, neutral conditions, because most indoors are run without conditions. And especially if you put it into context, when you think about the other athletes that are doing well this year, particularly Julian Alfred, which we'll get to in a bit, running 7 flat and below, it's fair to say it's not that kind of a conversation at the moment. But that's not the point anyone would make about that performance yesterday from Elaine Thompson. The real takeaway is that she's back, and she's back on the track. She's healthy. She looked relaxed afterwards in terms of her talking to the media, and she was engaging. She was smiling, and for an athlete that in many ways has already cemented her legacy with those double Olympic gold medals, no one would actually blame her if she had walked away quietly, especially having trying to come back over a number of years. And you think about what the injury has done, the shifting of camps, what that may have done for her in terms of delaying some of the legacy that she could have probably built on, right? In terms of maybe going out and out to to really change the dynamic. But I've always said this, and I've said this on a number of occasions, that the most important thing for athletes, and especially athletes of at her level, which there are not many, but athletes who have made a claim to go down as some of the all-time greats, is that they have to choose a time to end, and you'd like to see them end on their own terms. And so it matters a lot that we're able to see her come back, and she looks fairly healthy from that performance. It's a first run in a long time, so you cannot make any real indications or any kind of a real assessment there. There's not much. You're clutching for straws if you do that. The only people who would be able to make a proper assessment of that would certainly be the coaching team, the athletes themselves here, how they felt after the race. It's kind of a psychological coming back, I'd imagine, more than a physical one, because no matter who you are, being away from the thing that you do often, competing on the track, when you touch it is a different thing, even if you're healthy, doing well in training. And so it's such a wonderful way to see that she's back. And it's sometimes when you think about a long layoff, the most important performance isn't about the stopwatch. It's not about the clock. It's about the kind of agency that it gives the athlete. And I think the moment is encapsulated more so, not from a sporting performance, but from a more human interest angle. It's about an athlete getting the opportunity to get back, and let's see what we get. It's an interesting year. It's not a major championship year, as we know, but there's the Commonwealth Games, and the last time she picked up any major silverware would have been the last Commonwealth Games, uh, shortly after that World Championship in Oregon. And so right now, we'll see. We'll wait to see. It would be great if she were healthy, fit and healthy by that time and get there. But the one thing that we do know is that once Elaine gets into the right shape and she's doing well, it will only set the stage for all the major uh, meet directors to try to get her back on the track. And I think that's going to we'll see that as long as she's healthy. And thank you all for coming on. I see Gambit here saying Elaine is back. That is what matters. It is. The performance is not back. We talk about it a little bit, and you could see she looked decent. I don't really want to go into to anything there. She just looked okay. I mean, in terms of running, I'm sure she probably any athlete of that level would probably want to win, but that's not what's important at this time, especially after such a long layoff. We're talking about, was it probably June of 24 was the last time we saw her in a track, if my memory serves me correctly. So it's been a very long time that since we last her last appearance, and so getting back is important. Feeling what it is to compete, to hear a crowd, and from what I heard, and if you've seen the video, it was a friendly atmosphere. It's on home soil, so what what else do you expect? And so it's beautiful that she's back on track, and let's see if that turns out to be an Elaine Thompson that can get down to whatever times that would make her competitive. I think she still has something to give in terms of a healthy performance, because if she's healthy, if she can train the way that she's able to do that, and there's a fair amount of lessons that I imagine you have to learn at this age, then should should be competitive enough to play a role. And I don't know what that role might be in terms of what a career, right? I know we've talked about it on this show before, that perhaps you want her to be back in the thick of things, doing well, perhaps being more of in the end, being someone who can help to bridge that gap with seemingly a number of young athletes that are coming through the pipeline, right? And you don't expect her to last the same level as other athletes would, but you just never know, right? In terms of how long you want to give. Her injury record has been challenging in many ways, and you feel for an athlete at that level. Yeah, but it's good to see her back on track, and I think on the track, rather. I don't know where that means for her career, but it was creditable performance, and everything else, times predictions, those comparisons, we'll do a bit later once you start to see her in action more frequently, and we can make a better gauge of what kind of a shape she's really in. But Elaine Thompson back on track should be something that the sport of track and field should want to see, entertain. I suspect it would be have reverberated around many parts of the world, that the Olympic champion and the only woman to ever go back to back twice over one and two is spectacular athlete back on the track. I wish her very best. So I wish her overall. What I wish is a healthy Elaine, and healthy Elaine then can give whatever best she has, and we'll see how that stacks up against what is an interesting landscape in women's sprinting.